All right, you guys. So today we have a guest. You may have seen him before on a previous chapter. If not, you're not watching enough chapters. So I'm gonna let you guys go back to maybe even the second or the third. The first one was a little rough.
I like it.
It was a
It
little
was
aggressive.
entertaining. It was entertaining.
Yeah, it was a little aggressive. But here we are, almost at a year, not quite, but we in toddler stage still. But regardless, we have Mr. Bartel Welch.
Welcome, Bartel. And who is Bartel to you?
No one. No, I'm just
Dang.
and that so Bartel, you guys, if you watched the episode where we actually had, what was it, 3-part series, basically?
Yes.
3-part series for Valentine's Day, where we did 3 long episodes of 6 different stories. And it included myself and my husband, Talia's parents, my parents, our aunt, our uncle, and 2 other couples. But anyway, so we don't have Bartel on here today because of this, but we have Bartel on here, which we didn't talk about before, but Bartel actually runs a dope multi-million-dollar nonprofit. So congratulations, Mr. Welch, for that. Yay!
Yay!
And we haven't even hit 5 years yet, and he has already almost 5 years. Has it been 5 years? Yeah, it has hit 5 years now that I think about it. So we started right before COVID, and it's a nonprofit called Code 313, located in the heart of Detroit, Michigan. We're not in the suburbs. We just service the Detroit area and the suburbs. So I'll let him get into that really briefly. We have him on here because today Talia had this dope idea. And I was like, when you have that like Austin Powers moment. Yeah. Where I was like, Bartel, what you doing tomorrow? He's like, what? I got 900 things. Well, you about to be on our podcast. So he's gonna be on here. We talking about technology, specifically AI versus humans. That's what we're gonna get into today. So AI as an artificial intelligence. And since Bartel is actually in that world of technology, we're gonna dig into his thoughts, the truths of AI and everything.
Yeah. It's 50 shades of life. Let's talk about your type. Are your pockets feeling light?
Does your man treat you right?
Is your sex game lame? Are you searching for some fame? Hey yo, cuz, let's talk about it. Sex house, music wealth, true to self, I knew myself. Boy, you better not lose yourself. But let me mind my own black business. Running up these digits, fresher than them dishes.
Tell your grant your wishes, I'm a tarot reading witness.
Yeah. 5-0. Yeah, 50.
Welcome to 50 Shades of Life.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Raquel Ne'Cole with 50 Shades of Life. Welcome. No, I'm just playing. And of course, my beautiful cousin. Today she's wearing her tan with her beautiful hair. Let's welcome Talia, aka Black Magnolia.
Thank you. And shut up always calling me pretty. You're very pretty too. Thank you.
She always has the hair. If I did like a short snippet of your hairstyles of every episode, it would be like this party, whatever. So
Yeah.
What specifically are we gonna get into today?
Well, I got this idea because I'm always watching something. So I was watching my favorite podcaster, well, one of my favorites, which is Dr. Mike. And it was actually, I clicked on it because I thought it was going to be talking about exercise. And as I'm getting older, I find that it's harder to, stay in shape. So anyway, that's why I clicked on it. But in the middle of it, they talked all about AI and the benefits of AI and what could it do for you. Will it eventually alter your DNA? Will it, can it genetically modify humans into superhumans? That's not essentially what they were saying, but that's where he was going. His guest was going with it. And so I said, wow, what an interesting conversation. So we're going to be talking about that. but we're going to talk about where do we see that going? How do we see that affecting humans? How do we see that affecting how is technology going to affect? Is it really going to put us out of jobs? Is it going to be helpful to us? Or are we going to all be like the Jetsons and have a Rosie in our house?
Right.
So that's what I want to talk about.
So let's start off by Bartel. Tell us a little bit about your background and about Code 313 so we can understand the purpose of it and provide also your social media details and website and everything else. So again, welcome you guys, Mr. Bartel Welch, Executive Director of Code 313. And my husband.
Get it right.
That was quick. To the back. Okay.
They already know.
Like she said, I'm Bartel Welch, ED of Code 313. And for you guys that don't know, 313 is the area code of Detroit. But for people that know, 313 has always been, if you go back to Eminem and 8 Mile and his songs throughout his movie, that's what he kept chanting, the 313, the 313. That's Detroit. So Code 313 is the idea brought about by my over 20 years in the tech world. I've worked for various tech companies all over the country where I've been able to be around people with extreme intelligence, especially within the tech world. And the problem I had was seeing representation when I was around all of those people. So I didn't see people that looked like us, looked like me when I walked into the rooms to do work that I think should have been done by, or could be done by anyone. It just took the time to learn, the time to be able to have access to it. And that was the problem. So as I continued forward, I realized that the issue, number one, was access to technology. And youth were not given that access early enough and in school and all of that to be able to have the ability to understand that technology was a fruitful career path. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, 2019, we started Code 313. And 5 years later, we've been able to reach over 67,000 youth in the Metro Detroit and surrounding areas to give them that exposure, that access, that excitement that I felt when I got involved in technology. And that's where I am.
And something I will say this. So I know, Talia, you said you wanted to get into, and you mentioned, will it take the jobs, right, of humans? So one of the industries that I'm in is actually talent acquisition, right? So it has definitely been helpful, right, in terms of being able to do things, but I have already seen it take some jobs, right? Just being, blunt. Even when you go into places like Walmart, right? You already see the self-checkout and all that kind of stuff. There really is no one that really needs to be there except for when they got to come in and do certain things. So that's like a snippet of what we can see. Now in certain places, you can actually go to, I don't know if it was in London or somewhere, or China or somewhere in Asia, where they have one of the food places, I think it's McDonald's, where you can order everything and it's all robot, generated food. I mean, everything is done. There's not a human in there. So I think there's pros and cons to it. But one thing that I definitely do get concerned about is what he said, is Black people are already limited people in this space, right? It's not a lot of us in there. So now we're not only fighting for spaces for us against other humans, now we fight for space against robots and humans. So I feel like it's going to potentially take our numbers down unless places like Code 313 help more of our youth, right, get into coding and the tech world so that they can be the ones to build, AI products or whatever it is. So Bartel, tell us what actually is artificial intelligence. What is AI and how does it work from what you understand? Or do you know what AI means? No, I'm just I'm just
Actually, I want to take it back from what you were just talking about. The robots that are being used right now, self-checkout, McDonald's takeout, Amazon Fresh stores, things like that. That's not AI.
mm-hmm.
That's just strictly robotics. What that is, those are machines that are programmed to do a specific task.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that are taking jobs. AI specifically, I can't say that that's necessarily going to take jobs. It can assist jobs, help jobs, transform jobs, but not necessarily take it on its own. Now, when you incorporate what you're seeing today, which is robotics, which are machines that are programmed to do a specific task. Like when you go to McDonald's, or Walmart, those are just kiosks that have buttons that have to be pressed
in
order to do something.
Yeah.
AI is something that you don't have to necessarily press a button to have a result. Now, when you combine the two and you create robotics that have artificial intelligence, then you're talking about an opportunity for job loss, right? Then you're talking about iRobot, like with Will Smith, like those type of robots. That's what you're talking about. You know, when you're looking at vehicles, like a Tesla vehicle, that incorporates a lot of AI into it, but it also incorporates what's called machine learning. That's a completely different topic. But it also has things that are specifically programmed to do those particular tasks, right? But it takes like if you're driving down the street and it sees a car in the other lane and that car is starting to drift into your lane, right? That's where the AI kicks in. Okay, what do I do here? Right? That's where you're talking about the AI, and it has to think. And that's the number one thing of AI. What is it?
Algorithm.
It's intelligence. If you think about a human, what is the basis of a human? It's the intelligence, right? So artificial intelligence is a machine that can simulate human intelligence.
Right.
That's all it is. And what is human intelligence? It's thought, it's processing, it's decision making, it's in real time. That's what artificial intelligence is. So when you're looking at that Tesla and that car that's coming over into your lane, the car has to quote unquote think, what are my next steps? Do I brake? Do I move over to another lane? Do I honk my horn? I'm just saying these are the decisions that a human would have to make. So if you're thinking about the AI version of that, the computer has to make those same decisions and determine, but that's where the human instinct is different. And intelligence artificially from a computer has to also have that instinct, right? So when a car is coming over, it can brake, but a person has to think, okay, if I brake too hard, is it somebody behind me that's going to hit me? So a person has to program that into the computer. So it looks at his rear camera, see if it's somebody too close. Oh, that may not be the decision. Let me look to the left lane. Is it somebody over there, right? Can I just go over a lane? So all of these things are what has to be determined in split second, which, you know, the machine has to be programmed with all of those different variables.
Different scenarios.
Right.
Yeah.
In order to make those split second decisions to do those things. But so that's where, when you were talking about the job loss, it's a job loss in a certain situation, but it also can be a gain in the other side.
Right.
And that's what you were speaking to about having our youth being exposed to that now so that they can have those jobs.
In the future.
It's just, if you think about the infrastructure right now, if a charging station goes down, who's going to repair it? You don't have a ton of people that are trained in charger station repair.
Right.
But gas station pump repair, there are millions of people that know how to do it and companies that are established. But what is that industry doing? Creating new jobs.
Yeah.
So, and it's creating new training pathways. It's creating new careers and new entrepreneurial opportunity, right? So those are the things that you have to look at and that we have to be cognizant of to push forward with those potential new jobs. Because if you look at Walmart, you look at Amazon, how many times have you been in the self-checkout and you got to turn on the red light come on, right? And you got to wait for somebody to walk over to help you, right? That's because the machine can't fix that one problem. They may have seen you think you double scanned the item,
Right.
but you didn't, right? So it had the thought of they're trying to steal, right? But now they have to call somebody over to verify.
When I was researching it, there are some jobs that are being displaced or being replaced, which are customer service, because they can automate that chatbot, and they also are talking about when you can automate some different tasks that you don't really need. They could do data analysis, things that could have human error that AI won't have, because it's just data and processing. It has the algorithms. And so all of those things can be programmed in, and then they can get, perfect calculations. So it does replace some of those jobs, but you made a good point. Yes, it will, displace some people, but then, like you said, you can create other opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think that that's good. But I want to talk about the ethical part of it, which is, I guess, a little more controversial. So how do we feel about genetically modifying humans? Now, think about it like, so they already started doing this, which I'm sure we all know. They especially did it in China already. Did you remember that one? I think it was like 2018, 2019. They did it with twins, and then it was another one, and it had to do with HIV. And he was trying to develop, I think, trying to make them resistant to certain strains of HIV. So they've already done it in China, where they've genetically modified an embryo and created a baby. So how do we feel about that? How do we feel about a superhuman? Or they can't make a superhuman just yet, but do we feel like that's down the road, 30 years from now?
And I think that's where it can there's pros and cons to it, right? Because we're put here to actually eventually die, right? But if we never die because we have taken care of, honestly, every disease, right? We found the perfect way to eat. Then we already have an overpopulation to a certain degree, right? Then you're really going to have an overpopulation, overconsumption of, to me, everything, right? And just because, unless they can remove evil, right, you're still going to have murder and everything else that's going to come along with it, because now people are going to be fighting for spaces. Like, you're not in single family homes anymore. Now you got to have 3 families to one home because it's overpopulating everywhere. We're already running out of resources because the earth is only made to build and have so much. So that's one thing I see. 2, I feel like in certain jobs or occupations and industries, it would be great. Like right now, we use drones instead of having humans flying into these places, fighting wars, or, rescuing people, dropping water down where there's fire. So now we are saving lives by using technology and stuff. So I do see the benefit there. The third thing is ethically, you're playing with God now. And I'm like, whoa, no, I don't know about that from my viewpoint, right? I feel like it's like a disaster waiting to happen. So, excuse me, that's my take on it, because even when they do like COVID, right? COVID came out, nobody wanted to take this shot because they're like, oh my God, we don't know what's going to happen 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, 13 minutes from now, because there was no research, supposedly, right? Well, COVID actually had been around for years, right? But it's like, well, you shorten the process for the shot and and it's like, you really don't know how long half this stuff is because you ain't been involved with the FDA and anything else that's been involved. But you don't know that situation either when you're talking about mutating something. Like, what's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What you're seeing as, oh my God, this is a superhuman person. But are they going to have some kind of mutation from that mutation? Or are they going to snap and kill every damn human?
Oh, what in the sci-fi movie?
Yeah, is this like some Terminator, thing that's going to happen? I'm just saying, I don't know. So that's my take on it. I'm like, nope, let's stay away from the babies and things of that sort, because I'm a person where I feel like everything does happen for a reason, even when us humans don't like it or we don't understand it or it makes us mad or sad, unfortunately. So I feel like when we get into that, I just think it's a no-no. But Bartel, what do you think?
I mean, it's an interesting topic. There's pros and cons both ways. Pros, you got people sitting on kidney transplant list for 4 years, 3 years, 2 months, whatever it is, right? That can't find a kidney or can't find a liver or whatever it is, right? What can this do for us for the future for those type of situations? You may be able to generate something that could prolong someone's life, get them off the list, create something artificial, boom, you help somebody. Is that unethical? Because they have a part within their body keeping them alive that is not human, right? Necessarily.
I mean, pacemakers aren't human.
But in all honesty, we've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
One of favorite food that we just talked about earlier, corn. Corn is not a natural product. That's an artificial product that was created, right? So you have to think about things like that are around, all the different flavorings, and like we can get into the whole food thing. Food is the epitome of artificialness, right? It is the thing that has so many genetically modified ingredients, things, and all of that have been created. Look at plant-based foods, right? We got chicken, you know what I'm saying? Chicken. We got all of those things that are created in a lab. You know what I'm saying? But how beneficial has it been for people?
That's my part.
Right. You got soy milk, almond milk, peanut milk, every milk, all these different things that have been created in a lab. And for the people that couldn't drink milk for years and years and years, now they have all these different options. So you have to look at both sides of it and say, okay, there are benefits. There are things that can come out of it that could help us and all of that. Like for me, if I can get superpowers in a year from now, would I join up and sign up to be one of the Avengers? Probably. You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to say, I think
probably, but in all honesty, I mean, you think about those things. You think, oh man, what if I could fly?
That's what we talked about. Remember that?
If I can be invisible, you know what I'm saying? Like all of those things come into your mind, and yes, the ethics of all of that comes into play. But we're talking about artificial intelligence and the ethics that surrounds it. You have all of these different things, conversations. But it's the thing about technology. Technology is the thing that is always going to bring conversation. Period.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. Anytime something is new, it brings conversation. Think about how big Apple's release dates are, right? When they have the big it's big news every single time. I don't care if they're just changing the camera on the phone. You got millions of people literally watching every single time, right? That is the way in the world of technology today. Everybody's waiting to see what the newest thing is and what's going to be the greatest and the latest. So but then every single time it's still what I said, the haters or the doubters or the people that don't feel comfortable. You have all of that happen with everything.
Yeah.
Think about how many
change is different. Change is always going to be the struggle, right? Especially as we go generation over generation and stuff like that. So, but I just see the other side of it that concerns me is, and we see it today, is how it affects, like you talked about food, right? And we now see how synthetic foods don't work well with humans, right? Where it has created a ton of issues with humans. Now they're like, oh, it's caused cancer. Oh, Whole Foods has been lying. That came out the other day. Whole Foods has been lying about this being a Whole Foods type thing. It's been modified. But I think we see in this generation is like the use of technology that has been abused. That's my biggest gripe, is those that abuse things. So, in our youth, where they cannot even process almost basic algorithms or basic things because they rely so much on technology, or they're just sitting there watching a TV, right? And they're not living their life. They're not gaining a skill. They're watching somebody else. So that has been like my concern, is the abuse of AI and how it could, if you're not in technology, you will definitely be left behind, right? And we've even seen it in movies where somebody's robot was out of date. I think iRobot, you talked about that earlier. iRobot, some of the other robots were fighting with the new robots, you know what I'm saying? And then the people that didn't know how to have a robot or whatever they were being, it's just, you've seen so many different movies, but it could be real life in a situation where the robot gets so smart, because we know AI gets smarter, right? The more it's fed different algorithms and things like that, it just gets smarter and smarter and smarter. But then what is that doing for us? That makes, if you're not in that world, we're using AI more and more and more. Now it's on like our cell phones, right? On your smartphones. We're now using our brains less. When we use our brains less and something else is cognitively thinking for us, we have seen an increase of dementia. We have seen an increase of a lot of different things. And they talked about like more dementia has kicked in than any other time. And now they're even saying that comparing the youth of today and someone who has played like video games over 20, 30 hours a week is the equivalent of an alcoholic brain. That is crazy to me, but I can see it. I can literally see it. So, that's been my concern, is those that abuse it.
Let me.
Okay, Bartel seems like he wants to say something. I have something to say.
It's going to continue to be that way. Mm-hmm. It's going to be something where when it first comes or first started getting mass use, it's going to be the negatives and the positives. If you think about our generation, the good thing about us is we came from the library to the internet, right? Yeah. So we understood using Britannica, right? The encyclopedias to look up information. And we went to the library and grabbed books to find information, right? But think about how far we've come from that. When the internet first started being publicly available, AOL dial-up and net zero and all that, when we were given the opportunity to use it, it was great. Like, even though it took forever to do stuff, and it was, but think about now, what are we doing literally right this second?
Yeah.
We're using the internet, right? It's now ingrained in our life, right? AI is going to be the same way. We're just not all the way to that point yet. But think about it. Our kids do not know, even though ours go to the library personally, they go to look at books just for fun. They don't go to the library to look up books for information anymore, right? I'm talking about, and even when we take them, we don't necessarily take them for information. We take them for entertainment, right?
Yeah.
So they don't understand those type of things anymore. The things we had to go through, because it's not necessary anymore.
Yes, that's what I was
we can find something within 2 seconds. So with AI, it's going to do the same thing. Yeah. Instead of us sitting there pulling hairs trying to figure out, how do I start this sentence? You pull
We
up
just
Chat
talked about that.
GPT, you pull up Gemini, you pull up any of these 50,000 ones, and you say, hey, I need a sentence to talk about AI,
Mhm.
right? And it'll start you. That doesn't mean it's going to finish the whole thing for you. Yes, it can write you an entire paper.
And that to me is when you abuse it. That's the difference.
Well, that's where the regulation comes about.
That's my point.
Just like the internet right now, you can abuse the internet. You can abuse music. You can
You
abuse
can abuse anything.
right anything. Alcohol. Like
Yeah.
it's abuse is just the overuse of whatever it
That's
is,
right.
right?
Yeah.
But it's the regulations that surround it. It's the things that are put into place, like parental controls and things like that, that you can limit those things. Like writing a paper, there are things put into place right now that can check that paper and know that it came from, from artificial intelligence right now. So
Right.
you have to learn how to use it for assistance. Like we know how to use the internet for assistance, but there are people that can't get off of it. You're on it all day. You can't put the phone down, can't put the computer down. You go from there, you to the T. It's a nonstop cycle, right? But you have to be able to put those safeguards in place, which are parents, the regulators, whatever, to put those stops in place to make sure that that doesn't happen. Otherwise, but to continue to move forward in life and in this world and in technology, all of these innovations are going to continue to happen. There are things I could tell you all about that aren't even out yet for real, like massively available to public. You will be amazed, like, man, they really have that already? Like, it's the Jetsons, like we talked about. Like, I think, Talia, you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
it's the Jetsons world. These things are really coming true, right? But we just don't know about everything till it's here. And then once it's here, we have to learn to accept it, learn how to use it, and then continue to move forward. That's it.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. Now, I do have a optimist bias. I'm not a person that I tend to see the world more positively. So yes, but I do think that we have to keep into account that humans always adapt. Yes, and when you don't adapt, you die off. You're going to get eliminated, and that's just the truth.
Yeah.
So we evolve, we change, we grow, we get better. Yeah, sometimes we fall off, and that's what happens. But I think that we adapt and grow as things change. Just think about one of the things that you were talking about too, how we've been using it in vitro. You know what I mean? I mean, people needed help being able to have children. So that's one of the things that people have used so far, and they're not supposed to have that. So I think that we need to just keep going. I kind of am positive about it. I feel good about it. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say because this isn't my field. I just feel like I had to bring the conversation to the table.
Yeah. And so one thing that I was talking about, like with Talia, is I think it's something fun, right? I mean, I think it's something to look forward to, but then again, if you think outside of like where we are today in the world, there's a lot of craziness that's happening right now, right? And it always has been, but I feel like it's worse in my eyes. So that has been where, you think about all the good things and stuff like that. But, as like a person who has, when you have like younger kids or young adults as your children and stuff, and you think about, would this make the world a better place for my child, or will it make the world a worse situation for my child? That's kind of how I look at it. So, and I see it both ways. Like I literally see it both ways. Like, oh my God, they can have flying cars. We thought we were gonna have that in 2000. 1990, we thought by 2000 we were going.
We did. I remember
have flying cars because I was like, by the time I'm 21, I might be having a flying car. And they now have flying cars overseas that they are testing and about to sell. Then you get this like, oh my God, there's gonna be flying cars. Like, what? How do we adapt to that? And certain countries are like the fear, I guess you could say. Certain people are the fear because they don't have the, like you said, the regulations. They don't care about no regulations, right? Like the US, we don't really regulate our food as much as we should. Like how, like, you go overseas, they don't even sell like our pops, our candies, our cereals, and all this other stuff because it's filled with so much stuff that causes so many issues. And we're seeing those issues. So that's how I see it is, okay, is this going to make my kids be better, or is it going to be a war of issues? And that's how I look at it, because I'm like, hey, I'm already in my mid 40s. Okay, I hope I live to at least be a 90, 100. You know what I'm saying? Spend a little, give me about 55 more years. I got this, Um, but it's the
But
regulators.
what if it was going to
Regulators? Like nobody. That's what we seeing. Ain't nobody regulating nobody. They over here. Some of these countries doing whatever the hell they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it. And that's the scary part. So that's the part where I'm like, man, like, I don't know. So that's it.
But what about when you live in your 55 years, what if it does something? I mean, think about it. When you live to be 100, what does that look like? I see it every day. It's a different thing. So living to 100, but actually maybe being able to receive a treatment that will prevent you from getting dementia that would be awesome, I feel like. So
yeah,
if they could modify something, they could bring you in and say, okay, Raquel, we're going to come in and we're going to alter your DNA so that we can wipe this out for you. Maybe it won't be for you, but maybe in your children, well, you won't have that. I feel like that would be good. I feel like,
but I feel like, and I actually had this conversation because unfortunately I know quite a few people that have parents or grandparents that have dementia, right?
right.
It is also a protector of humans, right? The human mind. And I say that because imagine living in a world where everybody that you knew and you grew up with are no longer in existence. Imagine living in a world where everything that you grew up and you saw, from how to make food, how to turn on an oven, how to operate a refrigerator, how to drive a car, how to tie your shoes, how to get out the bed, like literally everything in your world is so different, where you're like a alien. So your brain puts you into this protection phase. Like when you get scared, you may pass the hell out. Or if you hit a certain level of pain, what happens? You pass the hell out. It's a level of protection for something. So that's how I see dementia and certain things. Now, when it comes to pain and stuff like that, that's completely different. But I do see it as an unfortunate thing. But I'm like, man, like, would I want to be so aware to where I'm like, man, all my brothers, my sisters, my kids, or, like if I'm 100 and some years old, our grandmother's in her hundreds. And I just think about the good things she's seen so much. She's overall very, very healthy. But I think about like, man, she has no parents. She has one sibling. Everything around her is completely different. Everything is different than it was 100 years ago. To where I'm like, it's almost it's protecting her some, because it can be overstimulating. It's overstimulating where you like,
I don't think so. I think there's no protection.
I look at Lebert. She freaks out when she sees like escalators, right? When she sees elevators, she's like on the ground, right? Certain cars. How do you work this door? She's in this, I'll just stay home.
It's the same as everything else we're talking about. You have to adapt. I think I see the opposite, and I think Talia probably going to agree and thinking almost similar to what I'm talking about when she said that. I think, just like with everything else, you had to learn it, right? And then you had to adapt, and then you understand. Doesn't mean you like it, right? Like she knows what an escalator is. It's not that she doesn't know what it is. She's just afraid of them, right? Like there are people that are afraid of heights. So no matter what new roller coaster comes out, they'll never get on it. But they understand what those roller coasters are. That's the difference. When you take that piece of their brain away, where they're not able to fully functionally understand what a thing is anymore, because now you're seeing it every time for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. LeBert's not
Yeah.
seeing the escalator each time brand new,
Mm-hmm.
right? So she knows what it is. She just knows she's not going to ever get on one, right? It's a person that's, every time they see it, they're like, oh my God, what is this? And then you tell them. And then 2 seconds later, oh my God, what is this? And then you have
Right, having to repeat. Yes.
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
worse to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
now they're reliving that fear every single time.
But do you expect for somebody to be 100 years old to have the best brain in the whole wide world and to live for forever? Like, at what point are you going to be like, all right, it's your body, something has to start shutting down because
It's going to deteriorate. Yes,
Yeah.
I think you will.
Yeah,
You
like,
will deteriorate. But I feel if and just in this, I don't know, not in all kinds of things, cancer. Think about childhood cancer. Think about those things. If you had the ability, if AI gets advanced to that, gets to that ability, and you're able to do that, that would be awesome. To just think, if I could go in and tweak a part of your DNA so that this doesn't go wrong for you and you don't develop cancer, that's amazing, I think. So I mean, now we're talking, first of all, we're not even anywhere close right now. I mean, we use AI at my job, and it automates messages, and half the time we have to go in there and correct them because it's not right. So we might be using a low program. we're talking about we're pretty far from that, I imagine. But at least as far as I know, maybe they're over, somewhere else. They're more advanced, and I just don't know about it yet. I'm sure maybe like we know about the children but they only altered a protein. So it wasn't, we're talking about altering and becoming a whole, we're altering DNA. So that's completely different.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, what you're able to do with AI, think about what is the name of that movie? With the black scientist NASA. You know what I'm talking about.
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
You take that same analogy of, with Hidden Figures, what were they doing? They were doing computations by hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
By hand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then eventually they were able to use a computer to help automate that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which, it didn't take away the need for the computation, right? It sped it up. Just like Ty was talking about, it's what their program is supposed to do, is help with them sending those messages, right? It's supposed to make it faster. So when it comes to that, and we're thinking about the things that are happening in the future, we want to be able to process data faster, so that you can get to those next levels. And that's what AI, when you're just feeding it a bunch of data.
Right.
And instead of somebody sitting there trying to read everything, go through it and think about, how does this function with this?
Mm-hmm.
The AI is taking all of that data and coming up with hypothetical answers and solutions to problems, which in turn can help with those type of things like dementia or HIV or COVID or all these other things. They're saying, well, look, if you do this protein this way and then you transform this, well, this could be a potential outcome based on these 500 studies that were just done.
Yeah.
Right. In different ways.
Yeah.
Whereas a person trying to figure all that out, they can do it, but it's going to take a heck of a lot longer.
Yeah.
So, we may get to the point where those things are possible, which hopefully we can get to certain things. So like you said, imagine if your grandmother, we came up with something tomorrow via AI that helped clear that dementia. You know what I'm saying? It's changed that. It's going to drastically change a ton of lives, not just hers, but all the people around her. Right. So those are the things that I think AI in the future, again, it's ethically like, oh, but you're still changing this because God meant for it to be this way. So you have to think, but that's the way of everything that we're doing in life right now. You have the way that we think God said that we should be, and then you have the way that we think we should be, right? And the intersection of those two sometimes get blurred between, what we feel is right and what we feel is wrong because we think about the outcome, right?
Mhm.
Like we said, if you think about your day to day dealing with somebody that deals with dementia, for you to be able to rid that, you would do it 100% right now to be like, oh my goodness, this is so much better for me, right? You're going to think about yourself first, then about the other person. So it's a it's a shaky slope,
Yeah.
that you just don't know that answer to.
So my question is this though. Yeah. So say for instance, like we have seen recently, and I was affected by it, is the healthcare system, right? The healthcare system got attacked. And you read into it or whatever, they use some AI, right?
Yeah.
Factual. So people have lost 401ks. Multiple hospitals were shut down. I've known of a few that literally were working in something from 20 years ago, right? And they were like, we couldn't access nothing, right?
Yeah.
To where now you're hindering millions of lives, right?
Yes.
And you also have your major banks who you have lost that as well because people are using technology and things of that sort. So that's the negative that I'm talking about. And I'm playing the devil's advocate today. So
You should. We need the skeptics.
Yes.
We need people to say the other side of
this. You have this. And I witnessed this when I worked in New Orleans in 2002. I worked at Champs. Shout out to everybody that's still at Foot Locker and Champs. I need you at this point to move on in your life, though. I need you to. I'm just playing. If you still there when I was there, I'm gonna need you to die somewhere. But no, I'm just playing.
You are terrible.
I witnessed. We lost the ability to use credit cards, right? By actually swiping. And they were like, oh my God, we got to shut the store down. I said, for what? We can still make money. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? Because my brain I know how to use the manual credit card, whatever it's called.
Yeah, the carbon copy. Yeah,
the carbon copy.
Yeah.
So I had to swipe it, and they were sitting there like, I didn't even know we even had this. Yes, it's been sitting here underneath the cash register. Meanwhile, we're going to do hand receipts, and we're not going to use technology. It's very simple. Have this person sign up for this. Meanwhile, everybody else was sitting there like, we actually had one of the biggest sales where we didn't have to use the technology. We just wrote some things down. Okay, next file. Who's next? They were about to shut down because they could not process how in the hell we supposed to operate without technology, right? The other day, I go to Taco Bell. No, Popeyes, my bad, when I was getting biscuits, because for dinner, I was only going to make biscuits and eggs.
That's fine. Them dry ass biscuits.
Who goes to Popeyes and gets no chicken? None. None. No side. No nothing.
I went to go to Popeyes biscuits, okay? Y'all had protein. The protein was 80. So anyway, we pull up. They're like, we don't take any credit cards right now. We only are doing cash. I was about to pull off. My mom was like, I got cash. Go
that
back.
Generation does carry cash.
Yeah. I was like, shit, we were about to get nothing. I wasn't even going to be able to get a honey pack, right? She's like, we getting 2 dozens. I was like, we are? And I'm just sitting here thinking like, damn. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, if we lose technology, the sun go out, the power go out, whatever it is, if we lose technology, even when I was in New Orleans, Michigan and the Midwest got hit with a blackout. Bartel was up here. All hell broke loose. They ain't have air conditioning. They barely had gas. You can break it down. That is my thing. We should not heavily rely on it so much where we become ignorant and dumb on how to function without it.
Yeah. Did you watch the movie that Michelle Obama and Barack Obama did?
Yeah.
Like that.
You know how to function. They ain't know where the sun set. They couldn't, you know what I'm saying? So and there's certain cultures still to this day. Like we talked about Africa on our last chapter 18, right? that they could care less about this. They don't care if we lose technology because guess what? They still moving on with or without it. They may incorporate it into their lives, but it is not their life. So I feel like when we use more AI and we use it too much, we have less brain power. And that's all I'm saying.
Let me go back to your.
And that's my psychology side. I'm about using the cognitive brain because I didn't see some of these kids where I want to.
I'm gonna go back to your Champs story, right? Because if it was me and Champs that day, what's the word they use? Drippy. I would have left out really drippy because I would have ordered all types of stuff that I knew that car would not have processed if it was working that day. So that's the problem, right? Like I would have been like, oh yeah, I got these shoes and this shirt and this shirt. Y'all couldn't process it until y'all
We
got
did
back
because we actually did more than that. We had a phone. So we actually were able to confirm the funds were available.
Look, I'm just saying, but as we continue to rely more on technology for payments, like you were about to drive off from Popeyes.
Hell yeah.
That's one of the things that we're not going to be able to get around too much.
Yeah.
Because Cash, if you think about music, it's the same thing. What happened with music? We went from vinyl to 8-track, cassette tapes, CDs. Now it's all digital, right? You can barely get record. I mean, they sell vinyl now, but CDs are leaving. They're gone, right? Just like DVDs, gone, right? So you have to rely then on the technology to be able to still do stuff. So unfortunately, we're just getting to that point.
I still got my record player.
That sits and collects dust. That's
hey, but I got CD player. I got my Case Logic CD player too. So when y'all Sirius XM die out, or your YouTube music don't work, hey, I still got my music playing now.
You just threw away.
Point. I don't know. So you're saying some old timers need to stick around to keep us, so we have a backup system. Yeah, we have to have a backup system. Okay. So I also wanted to know, what are you teaching the youth? What kind of technology are you using at Code 313, and what are you teaching them as far as it goes with artificial intelligence? Like, what is it that you're teaching the youth? Our youth?
Essentially, we teach whatever's the latest and greatest, right? So we teach everything from robotics to drones, cybersecurity, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence. You go down the list, we're teaching it all, right? There's an intersection with all of them, right? When you say coding is a general term. Just like artificial intelligence is really a general term. There's a whole bunch of subcategories that go up underneath. Everything that I just named involves coding of some sort. It's just different types of coding, different types of technologies, et cetera, that go along with each one. So we're teaching, our process is to teach whatever's needed right now and for the future. And when I say that, AI being a big thing now, right? That's something we have to teach. So what do we use as the driver to teach those things? So for example, we'll use robotics and use our artificial intelligence. So how I spoke earlier about Tesla and the cars, we can show how cars can drive autonomously, right? That's utilizing AI, like we already went over all that, right? So we're teaching them how to use the robots as a vehicle that moves around autonomously, right? That's an example. With drones, we can show how drones cameras can move to sense certain things, like thermal changes in a cornfield, right? Just different things like that. You can fly a drone overhead to see stuff that you can't just see walking on the ground, and cover more land than a farmer can do in 5 minutes, what would take them a couple hours, right?
Yeah.
So it's all of those type of things that we're teaching in a way to give the students the ability to get a job. That's what we're teaching. So we're looking at technology. What's the fastest way for that child to be able, once they become an adult, to be employed? What are the employers looking for? What's going to change soon? What's going to be the next thing? So we're always evolving, right? Every day, every other week. Like Raquel will say, why do y'all keep buying stuff? Well, we keep buying stuff because it changes, right? You think
Yeah.
about that. Look at cell phones; they change every year, especially Samsungs and stuff. Every year is a new one, right? So I'm saying you're buying the newest thing to be able to keep up, because if we teach on last year's technology, then those kids are they're behind even more than what they already were.
Yeah.
So we have to continue to evolve, and that's what we're doing within our organization.
So tell us a little bit more about the ages. What's your website? And how can someone get involved in Code 313?
Our ages are as young as 7, can go up to 17 or 18. We pretty much our sweet spot are upper elementary and lower middle school. Get involved. Follow us at Code 313 Detroit on both Facebook, Instagram, also YouTube. You can visit our website, www.code313.com, and get to all of that. That's us. Get involved, donate, volunteer, donate,
Donate.
donate again.
DONATE. Donate again. No.
Yeah, but that's it. That's how you can get involved. If you know of people that or schools that are in need of services like ours, which are, bringing curriculum to the school, showing teachers how to teach technology. And that doesn't mean taking the technology teacher you have there and just teaching them. That's teaching all teachers how to transform their classroom by utilizing technology. That's what we're doing. So if you need those resources and that assistance, then holler at us.
So what if a school doesn't have like the computers, or they don't have, do you guys bring the technology with you so that they can utilize that, or how does that work?
We can, or we help the school to find ways to get devices, how to use certain funds that they have to get it. We are a vendor for certain people, and then we also work with other companies that have refurbished computers and things of that nature. So it just depends on the specific need of that location.
Gotcha. And again, you guys check out www.code313.com to check it out. They are located in Detroit. And any upcoming events or anything like that people can and the public participate in?
We have our event that's going to be in August. Specific date we're still working on. This is with our collaboration with Michigan Central, which is the refurbished train station owned by Ford. We'll be putting on our drone demo day part 2, which we'll also be doing back to school giveaway on that same day.
Woohoo! So you guys stay tuned. Whether you're on Instagram, Facebook, or on the website, they will have all of the information about bringing your kids for the back to school giveaway. We definitely love giving back to the community. That's the whole point of this organization of Code 313. It's a dream that he had. He went to a couple places. They were not helping him out. And then eventually he just launched it and it has taken off. So applaud Bartel for doing that for the youth. Some of these organizations around here don't do it for the youth. They do it for themselves, but we ain't gonna get on that. So, but this organization, this organization definitely does. And I see the hard work of all of the employees, whether they're temporary or they're interns or whatever it is, even the teachers that are helping out, the dedication level at Code 313. And I don't say that just because that's my husband. I am one. If you guys know me, I keep it real. Okay. It is outstanding. It is. I've seen them in snow. I've seen them when it's been a bazillion degrees outside. I've seen them work their butts off to where they were tired, and you couldn't even tell the next day because they were ready to take care of, again, using and introducing technology to these youth. And I have seen the youth come back and bring friends. I've seen their parents literally say, hey, my kid was dang near depressed. And to bring them up into a situation where they are smiling again or they want to go to school is powerful. So again, thank you to everybody who has contributed. Thank you for being on the podcast today. Again, this is 50 Shades of Life. We talk about everything.
Wait.
Like, oh,
to close this up?
yeah. Okay.
All right.
So, you guys, I am reading this book right here by Joel Osteen, and it's called Empty Out the Negative. So I told Talia I thought it would be cool if at the end of some of our podcasts we can read, whether it's from the same book or a different book or something to give you guys some food for thought, some food for your soul, some food for your life, right? So maybe it's reading a recipe. I don't know while we over here starving. But this book actually hit at a time in my life where I already had been reading it, but I went back and actually started it over. And it's something where I have talked to, honestly, probably about 5 or 6 people in the last 2 weeks about negativity that we have in our lives. And this book specifically talks about, like the title, Empty Out the Negative. So there is a quick little snippet that I wanted to read, but it's definitely a book I recommend for you guys to pick up. You can get it on Amazon or whatever it is. You can find the link in our link tree or in our YouTube description, wherever it is, you can find it. Even if you go to our TikTok, maybe I'll even put it on there or something. But I definitely think it's a great book to gift or to read yourself. And I'm going to start on page 2, actually, because he brings this book in. When I tell you guys, I would close the book like I can take over the world. And I only read like 10 pages.
All right.
All right.
Knock us out.
All right. The reason some people don't enjoy their lives is because their container or their heart is contaminated with so many things. They have 10% filled with worry, being stressed out over their job, 12% bitterness, being mad at their neighbor, 20% guilt, beating themselves up for past mistakes, 9% jealousy, thinking their coworker is more beautiful. They don't realize 70% of their container is negative. Yet they wonder why they don't have joy, creativity, and passion. They only have room for 30% of the good things they should have. And it, of course, is Joel Osteen. Y'all know he is the Christian. He's everywhere. He's been around for a long time. So this is a biblical verse and stuff I'm about to get into the scripture. The scripture says, give no place to the enemy. That's not just talking about the forces of darkness. That means to give no place to guilt. Give no place to worry. Give no place to bitterness. Those contaminants can't come in and automatically take over. You control what's in your container. You control what you think about and what you choose to allow in. We all have negative emotions and negative feelings, but you have to make the choice and says, my bad. I'm not going to give this jealousy, this bitterness, or this anger valuable space and let it poison my life. I am going to protect what I allow in my heart. And every morning when we wake up, we need to empty out anything negative from the day before. If somebody offended you at work and they didn't treat you right, it's easy to let that offense stay with you. It can feel so good to carry around a grudge. We don't want y'all to carry around a grudge, okay? But you have to be disciplined and say, no, I am not going to be giving this offense any room. I'm not going to let it sour my day. That person hurt you once. Don't let that person continue to hurt you by holding on to the offense. Being offended is not harming the other person. It's harming you. It's taking up space you need for the good things that will move you toward your destiny. So I need you guys to wake up in the morning and release everything negative from the night before, the day before. Let it go. Let it go. And make room in your container for all of the positive things. Do not block your blessing. And allow for those positive things to flow in, and you will be surprised. And if you get knocked down and you back in that container of 70%, just keep starting over until you realize, you know what, that 70% is now filled with positivity. And that is my excerpt. Drop the mic. No, I'm just
All right.
So you guys, again, thank you so much. Thank you, Bartel, for joining us. Thank you, Talia, for being the beautiful, beautiful Black Magnolia, Talia. And you guys definitely come back in. Again, check out the other previous chapters. Follow us on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Again, everything is the same. It's at 50 Shades of Life. That's 50 SHA8DES of Life. And I need you guys to just check us out everywhere. Patreon, we're on Spotify. We're trying to get on Apple, you guys. I've gotten like 5 messages like, are you guys on Google? Or are you guys on Apple? We're trying. So I need you guys to also know that we are about to launch very, very soon our 50 Shades of Life website. And it's www.50shadesoflife.com. And then again, it's going to be www.50SHA8DESoflife.com, including we will have some merch for you guys to purchase as well. So I'm putting all that out there because it is something I've been working my butt off and tell you. I'm about to send you some more designs because I want you to see these ideas. And then I want you guys to come in and tap in and talk about also today's subject. So you guys comment below, like, love, share, whatever it is. I need you guys to watch the whole episodes too. All right. And we will talk to y'all later. But thank you so much and see you next time every other Thursday. Love you guys.
My own black business, running up these dishes, fresher than them dishes.
Talia, grant your wishes. I'm a tarot reading witness.
Yeah. 5-0. Yeah, 50.
Welcome to 50 Shades of Life.